welcome to a new video. And guys, I think we have to be honest at this stage. The Wii U, it's growing a bit long in the tooth. Obviously, you know, it hasn't been the most commercially relevant console, but I have loved it. It is honestly one of my favorite consoles that I have ever used. I love Smash Wii U, I love Mario Kart 8. It's also one of the consoles that really got me into indie gaming, because that's something that has really risen this generation, so I'll always kind of associate it with that. Things like Runbow, Guacamelee, Shovel Knight, the Steam World games. Oh goodness, I love the Steam World games, if you hadn't guessed. But the time has come to switch over, and indeed we are switching to the Nintendo Switch. So the Nintendo Switch is basically what Codename NX was. It has finally been revealed after us knowing for months what it was called. And honestly, I'm pretty excited. Obviously, my excitement is kind of leveled by the fact that we know one new game that is coming to it, which is this kind of Mario game we saw to it. It's got kind of this Day of the Dead feel, I think, in the hub world, or at least I'm guessing it's the hub world. It's a village we see Mario going into. It seems to be kind of melding 3D world with the kind of the 64 type gameplay, because we're seeing Mario do triple jumps, and he's certainly running a lot faster than he did in any of the 3D world games. But still, it's got that beautiful art style that 3D world had, which I personally absolutely adored. So that's all good. But getting down to the nitty-gritty, getting down to the console itself, it is essentially the natural evolution of the Wii U. It is basically merging the handheld division and the console division. In fact, one thing that I saw pointed out in, if you've ever seen Game Explain, they did an analysis video of this. They pointed out that actually the logo, which I think is actually a pretty cool logo, not only does it show kind of the controller, but it also kind of looks like a yin-yang kind of symbol, which kind of symbolizes obviously the fact that it is these two worlds melding together that we have never truly seen done to a very, you know, successful extent. Obviously there's been things such as the portable screen you could put on the PlayStation, and I think also you could get a battery pack for it, but that's, you know, wasn't very successful. And that was only a one-off thing. It didn't carry over to the PS2 or the PS3 or the PS4. It was only a PS1 thing. But certainly I think it does definitely put what I think the most great feature from the Wii U, being obviously being able to play games on the gamepad, not being tethered to a TV always, to the forefront. In my mind, this was one of the functionalities that I used the most with the gamepad. I brought my Wii U to all sorts of places and I played it just on the gamepad, and it was spectacular. Now knowing that I also don't have to lug around a large box and won't have to bring around a giant plug with a big power brick on it, honestly I don't see any time when I won't be bringing this thing with me. You know, I might just, you know, get a little dock on my friggin' chest for it. To put it, to just go into the console's actual look and aesthetic, I like it, but it is missing a bit of that Nintendo difference, if you know what I mean. It's very respectable, it's very sleek. I don't mind it. I certainly think that's a good look to have if you want to mass market it, but I do hope they have like maybe, I don't know, a crazy red version or something, because honestly, actually, I would just like to go a bit more nuts, being just kind of the general crazy Nintendo fan that I am. The whole idea of the Joy-Con controllers I find very interesting. So the Joy-Con controllers are basically, if you can imagine the Wii U, I'll probably have the trailer here going so you can see it in demonstration, but basically imagine you cut off the sections with the buttons on it. They just kind of slide off. I think that's a very cool feature to market and whatever. And I do think actually, alright, side note, marketing on this system, great start. It's very clear. They just need to get as many people as they can to see this ad, because honestly I think they'll sell like hotcakes if the price is right. So anyway, but this idea that you can either use them for your own use, and basically the console, the tablet itself, has a kickstand. So you could place it down, you could slide off the controllers, and you could kind of play it more like a console on a smaller screen if you're not so into that kind of handheld mentality. Also, you can do multiplayer with it, which I think is quite interesting. So you could have one, basically they both turn on their side. In order to make them symmetrical, they've actually gotten rid of the traditional D-pad on the main controller itself. There is still a D-pad on the Pro controller, but on the main controller it's just C buttons. They're a lot more like the N64, but that is obviously to make sure there's parity between Joy-Con left and Joy-Con right, so nobody has a distinct advantage when playing games. Other than that, I just think it seems like a very well considered console. They've thought about seemingly every way somebody might want to play this. They might want to play it like a console on a smaller screen, as I said. They might want to play it like a handheld, or maybe somebody's just going to stick that thing in the dock and they're just going to grab the Pro controller and it's never going to leave there. You know, it satisfies all playstyles, and I think that's where it has a really interesting place in the market, because it's it is taking over the handheld space, which is obviously Nintendo dominated at this stage, considering that the Vita is now completely gone, pretty much. Then you move over into the tablet space. Obviously, it may not be the most successful in that, but they're certainly going to want some people who are maybe just buying an iPad as a thing to play apps on and whatever. They might want to try and draw a couple of those people in. And then obviously you've got the traditional console manufacturer kind of market. Some people are worried about third-party support, obviously, because it's running on a Tegra chip, which is quite powerful, and it's very impressive considering that it is apparently almost as powerful as an Xbox One, but don't quote me on that because this is all just hearsay. But that is the power that the Tegra chip tends to put out, that this particular console is using. So certainly I think a lot of people are starting to say, well, the PS4 Pro is coming out, there's the Xbox One Scorpio, it's kind of getting a bit left in the dust again, and you would say, well, is this history repeating itself? Are Nintendo going to make the same mistakes? I honestly think you've got to look at it from a slightly different angle. Currently, the PS4 Pro still has a stipulation on it that all games that work on it must still work on the old PS4. Now obviously there will be a certain cutoff point, and some games will just really take advantage of the PS4 Pro, and the PS4 original will be left in the dust. Basically, there is still a stipulation attached to the PS4 Pro that all games that work on it must also work on the original PS4. Now, while there will be a cutoff point and eventually the old PS4 will be phased out, Nintendo has a chance here to build up market presence in that time, because they will have their own exclusives and they'll possibly have the third-party support that the other consoles have. And it's just all about getting it into people's homes in between now and then. When the third-party support cuts off, if the console is successful enough, there are obviously developers that will stick around. Obviously Capcom will probably make Monster Hunter for this. They might get a Bravely game, you know, Bravely Default, Bravely Second, that kind of series. They'll obviously be the classic Layton games, you know, all those kind of games that Nintendo consoles typically get. But, by the same token, when the DS was very popular, we saw, you know, that GTA game that came out on it. It was something different, but nonetheless it was a piece of third-party support, and a lot of people actually really like that game. Obviously you can go even further and you can say that, and they'll obviously also have the Lego games, or like Just Dance and whatever, you know. But I think people will make exclusive games for the Switch if it has enough of a market presence. I mean, you saw stuff like the Light Gun Dead Space game and whatever that got made. I'm not saying that I would necessarily, you know, look for a ton of stuff like that, but I think certainly if you can get exclusive content on this from, say, developers such as EA and whatever, and you're still getting, you know, maybe a port of FIFA and whatever, and the general sort of stuff, I think you can build up enough of a library to keep your user base engaged once it's been built up. But obviously, it's nice to have those names such as Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed to get people attracted in the first place. You know, kind of draw people to your console initially. So, really that's all I have to say about the console. I think the future looks bright, obviously, but Nintendo obviously could drop the ball. They have before. We have seen this too many times, and I really hope this console is successful. But I really think Nintendo has a chance to create a kind of a buzz around them that really hasn't existed. Maybe Pokemon Go kind of saw a spike in their popularity, but they really can create a buzz around their consoles, the likes of which has not existed since the Wii, or maybe even if they could recapture that kind of that NES and SNES era, just when Nintendo was thought of as the true gaming developers that made the best games and they were the highest quality. Obviously, I'm not saying I want a completely Nintendo-dominated market. Obviously, I still like PlayStation, as evidenced by this, and I still like Xbox, as evidenced by that. But certainly, I'd like Nintendo to at least get up to their level again, because I really enjoy their games, and I certainly don't want to see them stop making consoles, because I think they always put a unique and innovative twist on it. Please subscribe if you have not already. Please like the video if you liked it. Please leave down in the comments below, what did you think of the Nintendo Switch? Please tell me any videos you want to see me do. I'm thinking I might do an analysis of the trailer. Obviously that'll probably be done to death by the time I get around to it. So please tell me down in the comments below whether you want to see that or not. And with a... Thank you so much for watching, and while you're at it, why not check out some of these other videos?